the sunrise, yeah. Running in the shadow, damn your love, damn your lies. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I still hear you saying you will never break the chain. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I still hear you saying you will never break the chain. Listen to the wind blow, down comes the night. Running in the shadow, damn love, damn your lies, yeah. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. Still hear you saying that you will never break the chain. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I still hear you saying that you don't love me now, you never love me again. I still hear you say never break the chain. word or give me a sign. Show me where to look, tell me what will I find? Yeah, what will I find? Show me where to look, tell me where to find. Show me where to look, tell me what will I find? Or what will I find? Say, yeah. Yeah. Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, let it. Love is in the water, love is in the air. Tell me where to look, tell me where love be there. Will love be there. Teach me how to speak, teach me how to share. Show me where to look, tell me where love be there. Will love be there. Yeah. 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 Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, heaven let your light shine down. Whoa, heaven. We're gonna let it shine, let it shine. Little bit of light gonna shine on me, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Little bit of light gonna shine on me. We're gonna shine, shine down on me. We're gonna shine, shine, shine down on me. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it, yeah. Gonna let it shine. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Crowd Little SketchUp action right here. My name is Ben Hammond. Stick around for a great episode. I'll see y'all next time.
It's SketchUp's 3D Basecamp Fireside Chat series. Here's the lay of the land before we get started. If you run into choppy video or sound, click Get Audio Video Help down here and enable Compatibility Mode. You'll end up with a slight delay, but a buttery smooth stream. You can participate over on this side by asking our guest a question, answering the occasional poll, or just joining in on the chat. And in the middle, you'll see relevant links that'll change as our show goes along. On today's program, we'll be talking virtual design and construction with Rachel Robinson. And now, your hosts, Aaron Dietzen and Tori Hassan.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Or if this is your first time, just welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to 3D Basecamp Fireside Chat, the webinar series where we break the rules of webinar series and enjoy ourselves as much as possible, while still giving you that education that you so greatly deserve and desire. We take your foundation of SketchUp and build upon it with knowledge and entertainment.
I see what you did there. Building.
That's right. I did. It was hard. I don't like making jokes or puns, so it was tough.
Rough transition.
Good today, though, I gotta say.
Thank you. I went and dug this stuff out of my closet as kind of a nod to Rachel today and our construction theme. But, also, although our viewers might not know it, before you and I were building webinars, we were actually building buildings. So,
man, beat me out on that one. I did feel so Tori did a lot of field work. I did more of my construction related stuff behind a desk, doing a lot of design work. So I felt with your outfit, I kind of felt a little bit, like a tool. So I did with what I had available to me, I was able to put together. So who looks like a tool now, Tori?
I don't know if you want the answer to that question. I'm not sure if that stuff would pass CSA standards or the American equivalent.
So I got that going for me.
You do. You do have that going for you. Well, it might not be obvious to all of you, but Aaron kind of, he spends most of his time on the SketchUp side of Trimble, which is the company that we all work for here. I actually used to work for a few of the other divisions in Trimble, and so, like Aaron said, I've spent a little bit more time in the field and have the clothes to show it.
It is funny because when somebody comes up to you, because I have been mostly in SketchUp also Trimble, but Tori has bounced around. So when somebody asks you what Trimble does, what is your answer, Tori?
I've had a lot of time to think about that question because I get asked a lot and I had no idea how to describe it. So I actually call us a construction technology company because we do a lot of different things, but we're usually helping people build something. Whether it's like what we're doing at SketchUp, the behind the scenes 3D modeling part.
That's Trimble.
Or the actual construction site, all those yellow tripods and the people you see on the side of the road.
Also Trimble.
Yeah. We also do geospatial. So the GPS that's in your car.
Trimble.
Also Trimble. Agriculture. Maybe you've been out to a farm and seen one of those tractors that looks like they're driving in a line that's just a little bit too straight to be human oriented.
That's Trimble.
Probably got GPS in it. And I know everybody is going to know this one because we all spent way too much time this last year getting deliveries from Amazon. But all the trucks that, they need to track those fleets, they need to know where your package is.
Trimble.
Trimble really does a lot of stuff. And we're going to focus on the SketchUp part of it for the rest of today. But we wanted to give a little bit of shout out to our parent company.
Yeah, that is where the construction really comes together. So yeah, we did. So we kind of already talked about a little bit about how we both kind of came from different facets of the construction life, but we wanted to play a little game with you guys. Normally we throw a poll up on the screen. We're going to make that poll a little more interactive than normal because both Tori and I are going to share with you some stories. 2 of the stories will be true. 1 will be a lie. It's a little game we like to call 2 Truths and a Lie. That's why we call it that, because that's what it is. So we're going to throw those polls up there, and Tori and I are just going to give you a little run through of what our stories are exactly. So would you like to go first, Tori? I
would be happy to. Before I do that, I do want to make sure that everybody gets excited about our guest today. So I'm going to intro Rachel really quickly. And then I'll get back to telling you my story.
Sorry, hold on. This is on a little too tight. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're losing oxygen.
Intro's next. I don't know how to put things.
It's all right. So we are going to be joined today by field engineer Rachel Robinson, and she is coming to us live from Seattle, Washington. So Rachel studied architecture at Cal Polytechnic before moving on to work for Turner Construction, which she started in right after graduation. Rachel works for their VDC department, which stands for Virtual Design and Construction. Remember that. It's going to come up later. And she uses her skills in 3D modeling at SketchUp both at work and at home, and does a fantastic job at conveying information to her clients through her 3D models. So today she is going to walk us through how she would use SketchUp and 3D modeling to show off construction logistics.
Awesome. It's going to be good.
Yes, it's going to be great. But before we get to that, like Aaron said, we're now going to tell you a few of our own construction stories and see if you can suss out which ones we're making up.
All right. So we get those polls up on screen. Yeah, go ahead. Let's hit us with your first story, Tori.
All right. So my first one is actually SketchUp related. I did this on purpose. But one of my very first construction jobs, I was working in Germany, didn't speak the language at all. And the only thing that I had ever used to model was SketchUp. And so I actually used SketchUp for that job to design tunnel segments. I'm not going to say they got built, but I designed them.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, my first one is a little bit of history. I actually started training. I worked at a company that made engineering architectural design software. And I started training that around 19 years old. And it was kind of funny because a good portion of the people I taught were like 50 years plus engineers who
way older
knew what they were doing. So yeah, I had to prove myself very quick back in those days because
I bet that would be tough.
Yeah.
Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe you just made that whole thing up.
Oh yeah. It either was tough or I don't know. One of those
or
two.
It didn't happen. All right. Well, my next story this was my second construction job. I used to spend a lot of time on site. I was not in the office very much. And so to make it a little bit more comfortable for me, my company actually built an office inside of a sea can, which I have been told not everyone knows what that is. So the shipping containers that they put on boats, although mine was not seaworthy by the time we were done with it, I had an office with French doors and a drafting table that I worked out of for almost 2 years.
Wow. I can't tell if that's awesome or that sucks. I don't know.
Depended on the weather, honestly.
That's probably
it's really hot inside of a metal box.
That's true. I believe that. So next, it's another thing I did for a while. I worked for a truss design company and was actually the truss design manager and had a team of around 7 truss designers working under me. So that was fun. That was a very interesting job to do that, to design components and have other people design components.
I bet. You're still designing components now, just in a different way.
That's right.
All right. Well, so I mentioned already that I worked in Germany for one of my first jobs. I think by now most of you know that I'm originally from Canada. Now I'm living in Colorado. But in addition to those 3 places, I actually also used to work in New Zealand, and I have actually helped work on or design tunnels in all 4 of those countries.
That's impressive. I can't say that I've ever worked any country. I mean, I've gone to other countries to work, but not like, I'm going to tell my next story. So over the years, I mean, I've mentioned this before online that as a product manager, I have used several different software packages. But over the years during doing design, I've actually got certified in 6 different packages. So
wow,
it's good to be working for a place that wants you to do that kind of thing. I don't really need it much now. I mean, I work at software.
But you have it.
You know, nobody cares about
know.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's it.
And before we guess, so actually, we didn't say this at the beginning. Aaron and I don't know either which one of our stories was the lie. But before we guess, I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to get into the poll.
Just remember, you're picking the one that's the lie. Which one is a lie?
Choosing the lie.
All right. Well, Tori, since you started telling stories first, I'm going to pick yours first. I think you were lying about working on tunnels in 4 different countries. I think that was your lie.
All right, that's your vote. It looks like the audience thinks I was lying about the CCAN office. I'm going to say that's probably because no one knows what a CCAN is. Sounds like I made it up. Aaron, you are actually correct. While I have lived and worked in all 4 of those countries, I wasn't designing tunnels in all of them. Only in 2.
Wow.
So it was like a half lie.
Watch all the votes shift now. Everybody's gonna be like, yeah, that's what I said.
I knew it. I knew that. All right. So I'm actually going to go against the grain of the audience on yours too, Aaron.
All right.
I think that you're actually certified in way more than 6 design programs. So I think that's your lie.
Well, yeah, the maths said they don't believe I led a trust design team. You guys think I can do that? I could do that. I did do that, actually. I am not certified in. I'm not certified in any design programs, actually.
I was right, but for the wrong reason.
I've taught myself several CAD and 3D modeling softwares. I've never pursued certification, though. So, awesome. Well,
thank you for guessing, everybody, and for that trip down memory lane. I kind of enjoyed that.
Nice. All right. Well, that was a good game. Good questions. And speaking of questions, we are going to be bringing our special guest up in a few minutes, Rachel, and she's going to be, we're going to hang out with her like we do, talk a little bit, get to know her, and then she'll be giving a presentation. And you're going to want to pay attention to that presentation, hang on every word, because at the end, she's going to ask a trivia question. First person to answer that trivia question right in the chat gets a prize. And let's talk about today's prize.
Today's prize is going to be a copy of SketchUp for Builders. So very topical to today's theme. And this was written by John Brock. Unfortunately, you can't have this copy. This is Aaron's, and I have been threatened that I need to get it back to him in one piece, but you will get your very own brand new copy. So make sure that you're listening for that trivia question.
In fact, I think, I don't want to derail, but I think I saw John Brock is actually joining us today too. So,
hey, John.
Hi, John. So maybe you can IM him when you win, and he'll arrange a way to sign it for you or something.
Book signing.
I don't know if that's not a legitimate offer. I'm just talking. Okay. Well, hey, that sounds good. What do you say we bring Rachel up on stage right now?
I think we should.
Here's Rachel.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Rachel. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. I'm sorry if you feel a little underdressed. We got our professional gear on, so
we should have warned you.
Oh, I'm underprepared, man.
Although right. you are repping Turner, so I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yes, I do have my regular T-shirt attire. Got the Turner rep.
Awesome. So we want to ask a couple of questions of you real quick. So first things first, we've already talked about how you're working in VDC, and you told us you are a field engineer for Turner. Let's talk about what those things are, how they work together, how you do both at the same time. Tell us about being a VDC manager and field engineer.
Sounds good. So as Tori had mentioned, VDC stands for Virtual Design and Construction.
Yes,
and so within, yes, you got it right. Within that department, really, we are using BIM-based computer applications, so building information modeling. There's a lot of acronyms in construction, as we all know. And really, we support all projects in really building the buildings virtually first. And so many different applications, scheduling, estimating, we'll get into logistics today, sales proposals, the whole bit. And so I was lucky to be a part of that team for a few years and have transitioned into being a field engineer specifically for MEP, another acronym, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And so I am still working really closely with the VDC department. We do a lot of pre-modeling and clash detection of those scopes, kind of evaluating the design and the drawings ahead of time in 3D. And so that's where that link still lives. And love my VDC family. We are always in touch. And I will forever use the applications that I learned in that department.
Awesome. I'm curious, and usually I would have asked this first, so I'm going to make you backtrack, but you have a degree in architecture. So what was it that took you into that and brought you into the VDC world?
Great question. Yeah, so I had always really liked both art and math. And so for me, as I was thinking, what do I want to do? What do I want to study? I, on a whim, was like, I think architecture might be a great fit. So from there, went in Cal Poly, you declare your major as a freshman, you enter in and go into the studio class, and I ended up really enjoying it. But during my time in college, I was able to intern at Turner to kind of see what, us architects called the dark side of the building industry. And I enjoyed it so much because I was constantly learning new things. And so from there, I was like, you know what? I think my path is going to change a little bit, and I'm going to go into the 3D modeling realm on the construction side instead of architecture and the design. So that's how I ended up at Turner, but have an architecture degree. And many of us in the VDC department have architecture as a background because we learn a lot of those applications and 3D modeling programs during our studies.
Cool. We kind of have that recurring theme with our guests where either they started somewhere else, and then ended up in architecture, or they started in architecture and then, I don't think we've had anybody else I wanted to be an architect. I was an architect.
That's what I'm doing.
And we don't.
I've had a lot of artists, a lot of soccer players.
Yeah, well, there's so much that you can do with an architecture degree or within architecture. I mean, the umbrella is so big. The possibilities are really endless. So yeah, that's what I've learned.
So one of the things that and people will see this, if you go to Rachel's Instagram page, it is for something called House of Intent. Can you tell us a little bit about House of Intent and what that is?
Yeah, of course. So day to day, my full-time job is working at Turner and utilizing all of my 3D modeling skills there. But a coworker of mine and I really wanted to get into more of the creative realm again, a little bit more of the design side of our industry. So we just recently started a platform where I now utilize SketchUp outside of my work and day-to-day life at Turner. And we're using this platform more for interior design, remodeling. It's tips and tricks on what style you might like, finding dupes for furniture, and really growing in terms of doing small projects that are more interior and design related than the big, massive commercial projects that I work on at Turner. So yeah, House of Intent is the name of our little, project we're working on currently. It's more of a social media presence so far, but we've slowly been able to get some clients out of it, which has been awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, so not only am I using SketchUp all the time in my job, I'm now doing it as my hobby.
I support that.
Oh yeah. SketchUp all the time.
Oh yes.
That's awesome. I have one last question for you before we pull you into a game. I'm curious. I think you and I have slightly different backgrounds, but we're a similar age, and we both kind of went into fields that are dominated by people that are older than us and don't look a lot like us a lot of the time. And I'm curious if you could tell us maybe what the best piece of advice was that you've gotten, or something that you feel like you've held on to as you've begun your career.
That's a great question. I do think that one of the biggest pieces of advice is really to be confident and ask questions, especially in our industry. I mean, construction, there is so much knowledge, and all of the people that I work with day to day who've been in the industry for 20, maybe even 30 years. I mean, they just have this wealth of knowledge that, you know, in your day to day going abouts of what you do, it might feel and seem intimidating to ask these people what might be a dumb question, right? And I think my biggest piece of advice is everybody loves sharing their knowledge, especially in the construction industry. And so don't be afraid to, hey, can you please explain this to me? Oh, I'd love to learn more about this. And that has really gotten me to, I think, where I'm at in knowing a lot more about construction than I really did, because in architecture, yes, we learn about it a bit, but it's more of the design side. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Ask those stupid questions, or what you think is stupid, but is really not.
There are no stupid questions, only stupid people. Words of wisdom. Oh, I should have said that for the end.
You should have saved it at the end. It's too late. You can't reuse it now. That's great. Honestly, if I was thinking about that before I asked you, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be a difficult question, and that was basically word for word my own response. So
awesome. We're totally stitched.
This is perfect.
Cool.
All right. I think that it might be game time. You ready to play with us?
Yes, right. I am.
Today we're playing a game we call VDC-MCA. All right, VDC-MCA. That is Virtual Design Construction most common acronyms. Like we just talked about, for some reason, construction is full of them. I mean, you cannot have a sentence without talking about BIM or VDC or something. So we went and grabbed a handful of acronyms, and we're going to test you on your acronym knowledge, Rachel. So we're going to hop in. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
You got this. Here we go. Okay, we're start simple. All right, so first one we have is BIM. And what I want to ask you is, does BIM stand for Building Integrity Management, Building Information Modeling, or Bubbles Inside Masonry?
Love the last one. It is the second, Building Information Modeling, and I know it. So.
That is correct.
But we want it to be the third one.
Yes.
If you got that one wrong, we would just call it and start your presentation.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
All right, let's keep going. Next is an OIR. So is an OIR an ongoing intelligence request, outdoor immediate relief, aka porta potty, or organizational information requirements?
Ooh, I'm going to go with the third option.
Very good.
Yes.
I had not heard this before, but I got it from some BIM website. So
I like that for immediate relief. I was like, oh, that's kind of believable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so we should call that from now on. Yeah, it sounds a lot more technical than outhouse or porta potty. All right. What about an AIR? Asset information requirements, allergen ingested regularly, or atmospheric inhalable resonance?
Wow. Okay. I'm going number one.
I
think
okay.
Aaron just like sat at home with a thesaurus putting all of these together.
I was like, well, wow, these are really, really in depth.
You know, it's funny because if you look up any of these, there's a solid 24 different industries using these strings of letters to mean something. Case in point, IFC. Is this the International Fire Code? Is this the International Film Channel? Or is this an international foundation class?
I have a feeling you just kind of mentioned it, that it might be all, but I'm going to go with the fire code because construction.
That is correct. Yes, it is. It is all of them. So any of them would work. If it was a file, we'd say International Foundation class. But if we're talking, building, then the fire code makes sense. So yes. All right. LOD. Is this a level of detail? Is this a line of dimensions? Or is this a load of doo-doo?
Level of detail. Use that term all the time.
Yeah, that's a big one. All right. What about a BEP? Building Energy Permit? BIM Execution Plan? Or Bubbles Eventually Pop?
Acronym within an acronym.
I was going to say that, yeah, there is an acronym within an acronym, but there's also Bubbles again, which I'm excited.
One of them's got to be right.
Yes, I do actually think it's the BIM Execution Plan.
Yeah. Correct. A term no VDC manager should leave home without.
Exactly.
All right. What about a TID? Is this today's intentional direction plan? Is it Tori's diversion plan, which is what she calls this series of webinars? Or is it a task information delivery plan?
Oh, I really want it to be the second, but I do think it is the third.
I did totally make the second one up. I did not find that on the website.
Just to clarify, introverts and extroverts fully welcome at all our webinars.
All right. And finally, we have COBE, C-O-B, little I, little E. Is this a construction operations building information exchange? Is this an expensive cut of meat? Or is it COBE?
Oh, I love the photos. Number one.
100%. Bat 1,000. Well, obviously, okay, you passed the test. We will take everything you say as being the word of an expert in VDC based on that test you just passed.
We now know you know what you're talking about.
Yes, my credentials are now here.
Yes.
And Aaron and I were totally qualified to test you.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you got the outfits on, you're good.
We're safe.
Like you said, confidence. This is all you need.
Really,
Fake it till you make it.
It does make me feel smarter looking like this.
I'm glad you feel like that, Aaron. Okay, I think that's enough from the two of us. It is time.
Shut it down.
To let Rachel take over the floor. Just before she starts, everyone remember to keep an eye on the Ask a Question box at the bottom of the screen. If you have something you want to ask Rachel, make sure you put it in there. If you see someone else's question that you want the answer to, remember to upvote it.
All right. With that, we're going to hand over to Rachel with logistic. Good thing I don't have to talk for the next 20 minutes or so.
You need a break.
It's like the simplest title we've had, too. I mean, it's 2 words. Come on, man. Logistics modeling. Take it away, Rachel.
Let's begin here with our little intro. So as we've alluded to for the whole previous part of this fireside chat, we'll be going into logistics modeling. A little recap on myself. I'm a VDC and MEP engineer here at Turner Construction, which is a general contractor. I have my degree in architecture, currently located in Seattle, Washington, and have just made the leap into beginning an interior design social media presence as a hobby. A little bit about VDC. Within Turner, we've got this department and we support all ongoing projects. This involves clash detection, coordination, logistics modeling, 3D printing and CNC routing. We've got VR, as well as estimating, scheduling. The list goes on and on for the ways in which we support these projects virtually. And like I'd mentioned before, really the goal of VDC is that we're building projects digitally ahead of time. And so with that, I'm going to hop right into what I wanted to talk about today, because there's a lot of really awesome information we're going to go through and check out. So I'm going to start here, one of my models I've got open, and talk through a little bit how we go about logistics modeling here at Turner. So one of the most important models that are generated for each project is this logistics plan. It consists of the execution, procurement, delivery, transport, all the resources that go into a particular site. Each site and each project is different. And so developing this with the team is critical for the project's success. As you can tell here by the title of my SketchUp, these are ever evolving throughout the project. So we'll be talking about 700 Dexter today, a project located in the South Lake Union neighborhood of downtown Seattle. And this right here, we're on revision 21 version 18. So it's pretty well developed. This is currently under construction. It's pretty far along. And so I'm going to dive in a little bit as to how we compile all of this information together. So this is what I would consider our, quote unquote, new instance of SketchUp. So I'm not in the native logistics model file, which is this one we've got here. You can see the Space Needle in the background.
Nice.
I'm in a new instance. And this one in particular, we're diving into the underground. So shoring, we've got some contaminated soil on this job site, as well as a ton of existing utilities because we're downtown in the city. So how we begin going through and setting these models up in SketchUp is we first set coordinates. And so I'm going to kind of zoom out here a little bit and show where we are set. This is typically done by our survey team, and a lot of times it actually is related to our Trimble points that we'll use out on site and that we provide to our subcontractors. We've got here, the coordinates are 2,000 feet, 1,000 feet. And so this means that we can now kind of orient and model everything per the grid for the project, as well as these coordinates. So they all drop into the exact same point. So we're able to build this here, but then I can easily copy and paste what I need into that master file. Once we got the coordinates set up, we import in our 2D drawings. So the drawings that most people know that we are working off of our construction set, all mostly in 2D. These here are some shoring drawings. And we then, put them and orient them where they will actually be placed in the project. From there, we have those labeled typically as XREF as our layering system. And then we are really careful in actually modeling this in 3D by providing all of these their own layers. So you have the tiebacks, the wall, the lagging, and then you can see kind of, as this one has been in the works for a while, the plan of what days we're going to excavate down into the dirt. I can show you a couple different views of what these are looking like each side. I got the north, south, east, and west. And so this is really our workflow of how we begin to combine all of these drawings together, as well as you can see we utilize scenes a lot. So a lot of layers, a lot of scenes.
It's a huge amount of information just right off the bat in a single model. That's amazing.
It is. Yeah. This is so much better than when I used to have to redline these with highlighter.
Yeah, exactly. And we still do a lot of that while we're working through this, but just being able to visualize the whole piece. Let's see this next one up here. Boom. We've got this now in 3D, and you can see the extents of the site, the plan of that excavation day to day. And then you have all of these tiebacks so that as we go through and we can see here our utility plan and all the existing utilities that we grabbed based on survey points, we can start layering this information in. This working file, of course, was for existing utilities and shoring. But we also then add this all back into that master logistics model. So something that's really unique about this project, which I think would be nice to note, is there was, I think it was an industrial laundromat was what was on the site originally. And so there was quite a bit of contaminated soil. So with that, we were able to take the drawings that we had and model in exactly where these nodes of and areas of extra contaminated and then what had to be fully decontaminated outside of that. And again, place it where you can be within, let's see, we can click through some of these sequencing of going down day by day, and boom, you can add in the contaminated soil, and you know exactly when you're going to hit it first on the site.
I just want, I mean, just to call it out, because I mean, we work with a lot of people who are making models, and you have a beautiful model here, but it's so cool the way that you're using the same file, the same model, to switch between 2D data and then 3D representations, and all of that's together. That's really cool. And obviously a big part of that is management of quite a layer of tags and then organizing the scenes to show them.
Exactly. This is a process that we in the VDC department have fine-tuned because not one person is typically solely involved in modeling all of this, right? So each different piece might be parceled out and tasked to any of us in particular. So doing a quick hop over here, you know, my involvement was helping in modeling these steel trusses. So it's a big team effort. And we also utilize the 3D warehouse a bunch. So you can see here, we've got trucks and water tanks and our little excavators. And some of these we will build or modify to fit our project needs, but we utilize, oh my gosh, that warehouse constantly, which is one of the reasons why we use SketchUp for our logistics modeling.
Mm.
All right. Moving right along. So we can start back at the beginning here. This was used in a ton of meetings, and there were a lot of iterations involving how we were going to excavate. Timing wise, as you can tell, this site is huge. I mean, it's an entire city block, and the blocks here in the South Lake Union neighborhood are pretty large. This project, as you can tell, it's 2 buildings with this kind of interconnecting pathway between with some cascading stairs. So with that, we went through and planned this out kind of step by step with the team, with the superintendents who are really in the nitty gritty of the scheduling and the true timing and what really needs to happen on the project. We were able to step by step figure out, okay, when are you going to hit that contaminated soil? What mitigation do we have to do? And then really, when are we going to get out of it? So that's what these were used for. And a lot of times, you know, we'll go into the logistics model as it's ever evolving and create scenes for what we want to use to help the project team, to help with the owner, architect, whoever we need to convey this information to. Because again, 2D drawings are great, but seeing everything combined is just so incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that 3D representation of soil level that's got to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're seeing the full picture of, you know, hey, this contaminated soil, it goes all the way down into the foundations.
Yeah.
And that you're really going to be spending quite a lot of your excavation and time hitting this contaminated soil.
Yeah.
It'll get a lot easier to do quantity takeoffs and things too, I imagine.
Yes, and we do that all the time. We do quantity takeoffs. We do a lot of estimating and building estimate models because, yeah, the 3D tool is significantly easier than just having those 2D drawings. Within this model, there's just a couple other views we've got overall that help us out. And you can see these still have those drawings, those layers on, but typically we do not carry a lot of these 2D drawings just because they bog down into that main model. I think it's time to hop into this guy. So I'm just going to show a couple of ways in which we use this master file. So first, as you can tell, a lot of times, well, my department, we spend quite a bit of time providing context. So you can see, like I mentioned before, Space Needle in the background. We have the kind of really schematic, low level of detail, as I say that all the time, like I mentioned during the game, of the surrounding buildings, as well as some of the topography and the streets. So gives you, again, that another layer of 3D information that's really nice to see kind of how tall and massive this building is going to be, as well as right here, it's open and ready to be built as well. So with that, in terms of being in a big city and utilizing the exterior, or not within the building site, but exterior to that, how we're going to get around, close things off. What we call a TCP is our traffic control plans. And so we will go in and, again, utilize these logistics models to figure out, all right, where do we need access to best facilitate getting materials, people, and really trying to disrupt the regular flow of traffic and of parking. We're trying to limit it to the best of our abilities, right? We don't want to impact as much as possible. So we spend a lot of time going through and creating really multiple iterations of these TCPs. This one's for the south side. So we've got no parking, the sidewalks closed all along here, as well as no parking on the other side. And so you'll see that during the day, that is what we've got going on. And this is our plan for getting trucks loaded, and then unloading is on this 8th Avenue. But then you also have at night what we end up opening up, which is more parking for the buildings across the street. So again, we utilize a lot of the warehouses you can see for people and cars, and just putting that full picture together to, I think we actually showed this to the city so that we could get the approval of what our plan was for the site.
Wow.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Going right along to the next item, we've got our vertical transportation of not only goods and material, but also of people. So what we've got here, these circles are the swing radius of what the proposed cranes were going to be. So a lot of times we'll work directly with the superintendents on the project to figure out what the needs are. This project ended up needing 2 cranes. One with slightly smaller than the other. But like I mentioned, it's just such a big site that we implemented the 2. And really, we utilized this model to figure that out. And also in terms of the placement, to kind of have minimal impacts and work that we have to do after that crane is removed from the site. You can see it in perspective here. A lot of times we'll take some components from the warehouse and then also build our own to, again, customize it based on our needs. And we also will have different scenes with all of these different layers turned on. And I have these open for you guys to see so that you can see every time they're shifting and changing what you can see and what you can't, and the view. So this one's actually flipped around. It's kind of like I'm at the Space Needle. The Space Needle's a little farther away, but I'm peering down. You can see Lake Union. And this one also is showing you the whole facade system that we've got on this project. So a lot of times what we'll use this for is, we need to grab a snapshot for our client, or again, using it in many different meetings.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right. And so now for the, people transportation, our man lifts, we've got, I'm trying to click through and see what the best one is first. It'd probably be this guy here, a couple of perspectives. Because of the two buildings, they do have interconnecting sky bridges, but for majority of the project, we would not have them constructed. And so we really needed to narrow down having two of these man lifts. So it can carry small goods, but also because Turner works on pretty large commercial projects, going up and down, I think this is 11 stories by stair is time intensive and just intensive on the body in general. So we were able to set up kind of this whole loading dock situation on 8th Avenue. You can see we have our water, our tanks. We have the where trucks are delivering here, as well as, these docks that connect and bring you to both man lifts. And this one here, we were trying to make sure that the facade, we left out the portions that we needed to allow for having this man lift here for a certain amount of time on the project.
I'm just geeking out on how much information we've gone through inside of a model. It's amazing how much is there.
Yeah, the attention to detail is incredible. Even though I've seen you flip through this before, I still get lost in it every time.
I know, right? I mean, my team, we've even got, the electrical poles and our cones and everything. Even our people here, I'm pretty sure they even say Turner on them. Yep. It's really awesome. And again, it's just layers and layers of information. Let's see. I think to wrap it up, I've got another example of how we've utilized this with the project team. You can see all the arrows we've got on the street. So we're down to the bottom of our excavation, and this was trying to figure out our plan of doing our concrete pours. So you've got concrete trucks and then the booms, their distance of kind of what that reach is looking like. So I'll click through these just briefly, just to show you guys another way that we utilize this. Bunch of information. Of course, we'll have our question and answer after this. So you can ask me all that you want, because I know this is a lot. But I think this is all I have. I will stop sharing my screen.
Awesome.
That was
crazy.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know I was watching questions come up, and we have a lot of questions. So
we do.
Before we launch into our questions, because we'll try to get as many as we can, we're going to let you ask a question first. So
yes,
we have a giveaway. Reminder, it is John Brock's SketchUp for Builders book. You're going to get a chance to win that. All you have to do to win is type the correct answer to the question that Rachel's going to ask right now.
All right. What does TCP stand for? There we go.
All right. We have a winner. It looks like the first person to type that in. TCP stands for Traffic Control Plan, by the way. And Drew Pasek was the first person in there with that answer. So congratulations, Drew. You're going home with a copy of SketchUp for Builders.
We just to be totally straightforward, this was the acronym episode of Fireside Chat. That's really what the topic was.
Yes.
We just sprinkled some construction on top of that.
So. You know, it was all acronym. There's some good ones in here too, by the way. We got Totally Cool Plan, Totally Cool Project. But Drew, you got there first. So make sure to send an email to our team at events@sketchup.com. They'll put the address in the chat there. Just let them know your name and episode number, and they will get you set up with your prize.
Boom. Okay, let's go through a couple of these questions. A reminder, if you put in a question, we're going to go through a couple. We have a few minutes here. We're going to ask some questions. If your question doesn't get answered, remember to jump onto Instagram right after this. Follow Rachel at her House of Intent channel, and she will actually be doing a live session, and you can ask those questions that don't get covered here. Not to say that she's going to answer every question you ask, but you know, you got a shot. That's that's the best we can give you. All right. First question. The most upvoted was, what is the most common collisions in your construction projects? Piping, structural, HVAC, etc.
It's a great question. So most commonly, it is a clash between the MEP, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and ceilings. So a lot of times, right, we're always planning, that's all the MEP is all the backbone of what most people don't see in the buildings that really have them run and operate. And the ceilings and everything that are there for aesthetics sometimes just don't quite work. So a lot of that is what we go through and try to get ahead of virtually, so that we don't come across that in the field like, oh, there's this big duct up, but we need the ceiling at a certain elevation and it's just not going to cut it. So that's the biggest challenge that we normally see.
Makes sense. Form over function.
Exactly.
The two finding a spot in the middle. We have a couple of questions with similar votes, but I think I can actually combine two of these. So that people really want to know, A, how big that project was, how big the file was, but also how long it took you and your team to model it.
That is a great question. Let me actually look and see what my computer says this file size is here. Let's just say I have a very powerful computer. I have to be able to open this up. Let's see. It is telling me that.
And these, while she's looking up those specifics, these are living models too. Data is going into them. They're getting updated regularly, correct? So like they're...
Yes, they are. So this one, the last time it was fully modified was, it was this probably about a week ago.
Wow.
And I've got this at 114 megabytes. And I've pared it down in terms of some of the scenes just so that I could easily go through it for this specific workflow session. Yeah. Like, there were hundreds that I was like, okay, I need to get rid of these first, or I'm going to get confused of where I'm going. So yeah, they're definitely really, really large files. And I would say we probably have worked on it for over a year. I mean, it's a lot of time and effort going into creating a model like this.
Wow. And if you keep updating it, I suppose that timeline just
keeps going.
Keeps going.
That's a year so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. A couple more quick questions. Matt was wondering what advice you have for young folks coming out of high school and want to get into your career.
Ooh, great question. I'm thinking, I mean, it's hard because, again, my path wasn't quite straight in terms of what I even wanted to do. But I know that there are a lot of platforms similar to this one at SketchUp where there's a lot of ways to learn about the industry, and also there's a lot of free content on just learning how to do 3D modeling and things like that I would highly recommend if you're interested looking into. With that, I actually know there's quite a few high schools nowadays too that have some sort of like architecture, drafting, modeling type classes. So I do think SketchUp and this platform is a really great way to start learning and getting into the industry and figuring out what you really like.
Mm-hmm. I want to say, I think the fact that you and most of our guests this season have kind of taken less straight line path to what they were doing is a great thing to point out, because none of us know what we want to do at 18. It doesn't mean that the decision you make is going to be what you're stuck doing for the next 40 years. So don't think about it that way.
Yeah, totally.
Very true. Very, very true.
Yes. Let me see here. I think we've got time for one more question.
A lot of the questions were around, dang, that's a big model.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at these now and they're all like, this was huge.
I'm summarizing 5 questions in the Ask a Question list.
Okay, maybe what we'll do then is if you want more specifics on Rachel's computer, because I'm seeing that in there a lot, we'll let you follow her on over to Instagram. And for now, I'd love to thank you again for coming to join us. This was so cool.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Awesome time. And thank you for letting us look not just at one of your real world models, but something that's actually being worked on right now. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I was in Seattle, I would be driving down to take a look at the building right now.
Yeah, go check it out. It's exteriors on it and everything right now. So yeah, it's moving along.
Very
awesome.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And on behalf of everybody, thanks for that awesome presentation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.
That was pretty great.
It was. That was intense. That was good stuff. We are going to wrap up, but before we do that, we do want to give out a special thank you real quick. You guys know that we're coming up on our 8th and final episode of the Fireside Chat next week. We do have a member of the Fireside Chat team who won't be here next week, so we wanted to make sure we called him out and thanked him right now, and that's Matt Robeson. He's the guy who's responsible for all the animations you see on the screen. He's the guy who pushes the buttons to make the sound effects happen.
Music we're dancing to.
The music that we are awkwardly gyrating to. So I won't make him come on stage, but I do want to at least say thank you so much, Matt, for all the time and energy.
Aw, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We will also say, I forgot to bring him out earlier. Scoot dressed for the occasion, and Matt also voices the mascot that you all know and love.
Scoot! Oh, great to be back. Look, check out my little hard hat.
Thanks, Matt. That was a great.
There we go. That was it.
Awesome. Well, we do have one episode left, although Matt won't be here with us. We hope that the rest of you will be. We have definitely not left the least for last. Is that how you say that? Don't think that. This is going to be amazing. So make sure that you come back and join us next week. We're going to be talking to film art director Luke Whitelock. Pronounced that properly.
You did good.
I've been stumbling over those Ks. He's going to be joining us from the UK, and he has worked on some pretty cool stuff. So make sure that you come back and join us for the season finale. That's right. It's going to be great. Until next time, remember, I worked on this.
There are no stupid questions, only stupid people, and they're the ones who don't ask.
Thanks for joining us. Don't miss our season finale next week with feature film art director Luke Whitelock. Right now, flip over to Rachel's Instagram and talk with her live. Thank you for watching the Fireside Chat series.